Hello, my people. Good day to you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time zone you're listening to this, thank you for tuning in every single day to listen to me on Daily Mind Shift. My name is Michael Ojola for Mindset Transformation Africa. And on today's episode, I want to talk about living comfortable with unhealthy patterns. Let me anchor today's episode on this statement. The longer we become comfortable living in unhealthy patterns, the more normal they seem. The longer we become comfortable living in unhealthy patterns, the more normal they seem. So, I welcome you. Just think for a few seconds on what I just said. Let that sink in for a moment. It's a simple statement, but I believe it holds a powerful truth. We often start by tolerating something unhealthy, a bad habit, a toxic relationship, a mindset of negativity. And before we know it, that thing we once recognized as damaging starts to feel like part of who we are. It starts to feel normal. See, now I want you to ask yourself, what unhealthy patterns have I let become normal in my life? Ask yourself again, what unhealthy patterns have I let become normal in my life? Maybe it's how you manage stress. Maybe it's how you talk to yourself. Maybe it's the people you keep around you, or the way you avoid taking responsibility for your life or for your own growth. Whatever it is, I want us to dig deep into it today to uncover why we allow these patterns to take root and how they become so deeply ingrained in us, and most importantly, how we can break free from them. So let us just start by talking about comfort. Let me start that by saying, comfort is one of the things that feels good in the moment, but over time, it can become incredibly destructive if we are not careful. When we talk about comfort in the context of unhealthy patterns now, what we are really talking about is our brain's desire to keep us in a state of ease. Our brain's desire to keep us in a state of familiarity, even if that ease is actually damaging us in the long run. Our brains are wired to avoid discomfort. It's a survival mechanism. In prehistoric time, way back when, staying safe means we're sticking to what we knew. It meant sticking to what we knew, avoiding danger and not taking unnecessary risks. But here's the problem. In today's version of staying safe, it can look like staying in a job that drains the life out of you, staying in a relationship that makes you feel small, or sticking to habits that numb you instead of nourish you. So when we first encounter something that is unhealthy, there is always usually resistance. We recognize it as bad for us. But if we allow ourselves to stay in that space, if we keep repeating the behavior or staying in the same situation, something strange happens. It becomes our new normal. What was once intolerable becomes familiar. And once something feels familiar, it starts to feel safe. It becomes normal. That is when unhealthy becomes normal. Once an unhealthy patterns become normalized in your life, you stop questioning it. You stop seeing it for what it truly is, unhealthy. Think about the first time you realized you were in a toxic friendship. Maybe it started with small red flags like comments that made you feel bad about yourself, or situations where you were always giving and never receiving. At first, it bothered you. You knew something was not right, but over time, you started to excuse it. You maybe even rationalize it. Oh, that's just how they were. That's just how they are. You tell yourself that. Or maybe I'm overreacting. It's not that bad. You tell yourself that. And before you know it, you've spent months or even years in a friendship that is draining you, but it feels normal now. It's part of your life now. You're comfortable with it now. You've adapted to it. It's the same with habits. You might have picked up a habit that at first you knew was not great for you. Maybe eating junk food late at night, skipping your workout, smoking weed or cigarettes, procrastinating important tasks. But over time, the more you engage in that habit, the less you see it as unhealthy. It just becomes something you do. It's not even, and it's not until the consequence start to pile up, when your health starts to decline, when you start losing focus, or you have a foggy mind, when stress overwhelms you, when your dreams feels out of your reach, then you realize you've been living in an unhealthy pattern for far too long. This is why unhealthy patterns are so dangerous, because they sneak into our lives, often unnoticed, and they settle in. And the longer we allow them to settle, the more normalized they become. One of the scariest things about unhealthy patterns is how they start. It's how they start to shape your identity, because over time, these behaviors or relationships don't just feel normal. They start to feel like part of who you are. You begin to identify with them. You start to believe that this is just how life is. Or even worse, this is just how you are. But no. This is not how you are. You learned this. This is what you've learned to accept about yourself over time. Maybe you've been living in a cycle of self-doubt for so long that you can't even remember when it feels what it feels like to believe in yourself. Or maybe you've been stuck in the same toxic environment for so many years that you've convinced yourself you are not capable of anything anymore. Or maybe your unhealthy pattern is perfectionism, and you've lived with the constant pressure to perfect for so long that you believe you are only worthy of love and success when you meet impossible standards. Whatever your unhealthy pattern is, over time, it becomes part of your identity. And that is where the real danger lies. Because once something becomes part of your identity, it becomes much harder to change. Why we stay stuck? Why do we stay stuck in these patterns? Once we know they are unhealthy, why don't we just snap out of it? Oh, there are a few reasons for that. First, like I mentioned before, we are wired for comfort. Change is uncomfortable, and our brains will often choose comfort over our brain will often choose comfort of a bad situation over the discomfort of the unknown. Even if we know we are in an unhealthy pattern, the thought of breaking free can be terrifying. And also, we often don't believe we deserve better. We get so used to living in these unhealthy patterns that we start to think this is all life has to offer us. We start to think that maybe we are not worthy of more. Maybe we don't deserve the healthy relationship, that fulfilling career, the sense of inner peace. So we stay stuck. Not because we cannot break free, but because we don't believe we deserve to break free. And also, we often don't know how to break free. Even if we recognize the pattern and we believe we deserve better, we might not know how to make the changes that we need to make. And that feels overwhelming. So, where do we start from? I think it starts with awareness. I think the first step of breaking free from unhealthy patterns is being aware of them. You cannot change what you are not aware of. I keep saying this because I know it's true. You cannot change what you don't even know exists. So the first thing you need to do is get honest, brutal honest with yourself. What unhealthy patterns have you allowed to become normal in your life? This requires brutal honesty, all right? But here's the thing. Awareness is liberating. Once you become aware of an unhealthy pattern, you are no longer passive victim of it. You are no longer blindly repeating the same behaviors without knowing why. Now you have power to make a different choice. So take action. The moment you are aware of the unhealthy patterns in your life, take action to get rid of it. And this is where most of us get stuck, all right? Because we want to change everything all at once. No. Start small. By just identify one pattern that you want to change. Just one. Maybe it's the way you talk to yourself. Maybe it's the way you handle stress. Maybe it's the way is the people you surround yourself with. Whatever it is, commit to making just one change today. See, you need to know that there is, just as unhealthy patterns can be normalized, so can healthy patterns be normalized. You can rewire your brain. The more you practice healthy habits, the more normal they will start to feel. And over time, they will become part of your identity. Let me leave you with this thought. You deserve better than the unhealthy patterns you've allowed to take root in your life. You're worthy of more. But it is up to you to make that change. No one is going to do it for you. No one is going to come into your life